Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Joe Biden and Democrats are a threat to democracy. Elise Stefanik refuses to commit to accepting 2024 election results as she doubles down on claim the 2020 race was unconstitutional. Now, this has been twisted out of shape by the mainstream media. She didn't say they cheated. She didn't say anything, any chicanery went on. She just said it was unconstitutional, and she's right. Many states, Pennsylvania for one, had the governor change the rules, they went along. No, the legislature has to do that. And what they wanted was a holdup on the approval of the Electoral College to go back to the states to see if they still wanted to continue and certify those electors they sent to Washington, because it was a question. Many state legislatures said, wait a minute, I smell unrefrigerated fish here. Let's investigate. And that's all that happened. Elise Stefanik, by the way, I'm in upstate New York in Binghamton. She represents the Adirondack area, just above Albany towards the Canadian border. Beautiful, one of the most beautiful areas in the country. The Adirondack Mountains, and she does very well. Yeah, for a little while there, I was hot and cold on her, but I'm starting to warm up to her. Has refused to commit to accepting the 2024 election results unless they are constitutional, alluding to her ongoing fight over Joe Biden's 2020 win. The Republican representative from New York's 21st Congressional District, which, by the way, I know some people in the New York State Assembly, they gerrymandered the hell out of the districts up here. The judge ruled this is nonsense, so they made him redo them, and now they're going to do them over again, and of course it's going to be the Democrats' favor, so we'll see how badly they screw her. Especially after the confrontation with the Harvard president, who was forced to resign after her exchange with Representative Stefanik. And she's a big Trump supporter, so the Democrats are still a threat to democracy as they're attempting to boot Trump, who is currently GOP frontrunner from ballots in different states. So Stefanik is one of 147 Republican Congress who did not vote to certify the 2020 results, believing that it had been stolen. That option triggered the January 6th chaos outside the Capitol 3 years ago. Moderator Christian Welker on NBC's Meet the Press said, Stefanik, would you vote to certify, and will you vote to certify the result of the 2024 election no matter what they show? It's a loaded question. And there's some pictures of Stefanik. She's there with Trump. I believe that's her congressional office. You know, like I said, I was a little iffy on her. I'm starting to warm up to her. But the response to the question, Stefanik said, we will see if this is a legal and valid election. It's a fair answer. What we're seeing so far is that Democrats are so desperate, they're trying to remove President Trump from the ballot, that this is the suppression of the American people. Talk about voter suppression. That's all they scream about. Yet they're trying to keep candidates off the ballot. And by the way, President Trump was never indicted or even charged with insurrection or stood trial for it, nor any of the January 6th defendants. Not one has been charged with insurrection. Why? Because it wasn't. But that's again if they would certify the votes the Republicans said if they're constitutional. What we saw in 2020 was unconstitutional circumventing of the Constitution, not going through the state legislature when it comes to changing election laws. Joe Biden and the Democrats are a threat to democracy. Oh, they changed. I got to say, they played COVID beautifully when it came to the election. And by the way, if you notice now, the new strains that are coming up now as we're coming up towards the spring of a presidential election year, and I'll just leave it at that. This comes in the wake of Colorado Supreme Court ruling Trump ineligible for the primary due to disqualification clause of the 14th Amendment, which says insurrection. Following Colorado, Maine also attempted to remove him. Attorneys for Trump appealed to a decision by Maine Secretary of State after disqualifying him for the primary ballot, citing the 14th Amendment ban anyone who engaged in insurrection from holding office. What happened to due process? He was never indicted. He was never charged. He never stood trial for insurrection. The court must decide by January 17th, and from there it could potentially go to the main Supreme Judicial Court and then to the Supreme Court. Trump has been indicted in both federal cases and in Georgia for his role in trying to overturn the 2020 election, but he has not been charged with insurrection related to the January 6th attack. Why? As outrageous as some of the things like the overpriced real estate that he had, just craziness just going on, and Georgia's just the same. Not even the back crap crazy progressive Democrats would charge him with insurrection with zero evidence. Trump has been indicted in both the federal case and in Georgia for his role in trying to overturn the election. He leads opinion polls by a large margin in the race for the Republican nomination in 2024. Stefanik took center stage last month when she ceremoniously grilled the presidents of Harvard, MIT, and UPenn on anti-Semitism on their campuses. And by the way, she grilled the Harvard president a little harder because Stefanik did go to Harvard. She cheered the forced resignation of embattled Harvard President Claudine Gay following weeks of pressure that was mounted by Stefanik herself in Congress. Well, former Harvard President Claudine Gay got to keep her entire salary, all the benefits that went along with it, including, I'm sure, a very generous pension fund and health insurance, time off, all the perks, to be on the faculty only. So she gets the exact same salary as the college president, but without all the responsibility and grief. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. She cheered the forced resignation of the Harvard president. 2 down. Harvard knows that this is long overdue forced resignation of the anti-Semitic plagiaristic president is just the beginning of what was the greatest scandal of any college university in history, she said in a statement first obtained by the dailymail.com. Backlash erupted after presidents of Harvard, UPenn, and MIT failed to unequivocally condemn the genocide of Jews during a hearing on anti-Semitism on Capitol Hill each month. The study put the liberal university president in the hot seat, asking them whether calling for the genocide of Jews would violate their school's code of conduct. Is calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment, yes or no? It depends on the context, Gay said. And then she turned around and said, former President Gay of Harvard, she turned around and said, well, we have a First Amendment. Unfortunately, the First Amendment gives these people the right to say things we don't like, which is hilarious because of all the colleges in the United States rated from 0 to 100, 100 allowing for the most free college campus for free speech, and 0 being the worst allowing free speech on the campus. Take a wild guess what Harvard got as far as free speech scale goes. They got 0. How the hell do you get 0? I mean, it's like saying you get 5 points for filling out your name on the test rate. How the hell do you get 0? And then she turns around and says, well, we have a First Amendment in this country that prohibits me from stopping these students from saying these horrible things. What a crock of crap and a hypocrite. So, good for Stefanik. She did not say she wouldn't certify the election. She'd only certify the election if it was constitutionally done. Of course, the Main Street media, almost all of them or most of them, left that part out. And 147 Republicans did not certify the election. We're going to have to see what's coming. It's going to be historic, one way or another, both good and or maybe bad or somewhere in between. But it will be historic. Until the next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.